I wanted to ask you if you have any other thoughts, please let me know. But
Mhm.
the play-in tournament, do you see this being a success? Or if there's any kind of complications, do you see this going away? How do you see this playing out? Do you see this being a permanent fixture? I know Adam Silver, he loves, in-season tournaments, and certainly this tournament's relevant because it leads to um, this playoff positioning. Are you a fan of this outside of the bubble? Just heading into this season, what do you make? Because I know it was tough to come up with that 5 to 10 spot. Does that make it more exciting, or do you see it as, hey, we're gonna have some crap teams, that are in kind of that ninth, 10th spot? Why are we wasting our time? What do you make of this play-in tournament moving forward?
Personally, I think I have two minds when it comes to this. So I guess I'm kind of looking at both sides here. As a viewer, I love playing tournament. I think anytime you can create a sense of urgency, that's what the NFL does so well. I mean, love or hate the NFL, every week feels like it matters in the NFL. Um, and that's something that when you have an 82 game regular season, or this year 72 game, it's hard to create that sense of urgency. So that's something that the play-in tournament helps with. But in another way, I also feel like, gosh, we're not really rewarding teams for hitting the seventh and eighth seed. Like, we're kind of taking away from that. And I'm not sure if long term, if that's a good thing or not. I kind of want to see this play-in tournament play out. And Adam Silver is very aware what is being said on Twitter, very aware of kind of fan reactions to things that are happening in the league, also player reactions, of course, maybe more importantly. So I think if say like a 10 seed knocks off, like let's say like the Bulls knock off the Pacers. Let's just say hypothetically, the Pacers were the 7th seed and the Bulls as the 10 seed knock them off. Um, I think, well, that might play out well with Chicago being a bigger market. But if there's a huge outpour of disappointment, I think it's something that'll change in the next couple of years. Ultimately, I personally see this sticking around just because of, again, the sense of urgency that it creates, the sense of interest. I think the TV ratings will bear this out and favor the play-in tournament. But personally, uh, I'm still conflicted how I feel about it as someone who appreciates a team like fighting as hard as they can for playoff contention. Now, you can also argue, on the other hand, this gets more teams playing the full regular season, and that might be a valid point as well. That's something that I want to kind of see as a fan play out a little bit more. Like, is the 10 seed really trying that hard, or does it feel like they just kind of like fall into this opportunity? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. So, but what are your thoughts? I mean, do you have stronger feelings? Like, is this a net positive, net negative? Are you looking forward to it?
I think it's a net positive as long as the games are compelling. And it's kind of, again, I hate to bring up this term again, but it's a catch-22, because if the games are compelling and yet you have a team battling for that eighth spot, I mean, what's the likelihood of that eighth team beating the number one team? Very minimal.
Right.
If we're talking about like March Madness or something, that has the excitement when they expanded the field. At least there's a shot where you can, anything can happen in one game, right? But when you have
Hmm.
a 7 game series, the better team's going to win. I would say 95% of the time, and especially in a 1/8 scenario. So I just don't see it providing exciting matchups, even if there's like flukes within the play-in tournament. I do think it's cool. I think, for a team like Chicago, one of the benefits is you're playing in intense games
Hmm.
throughout the entire season. So you have something to play for. I think it kind of avoids tanking. Like, there's different incentives around, like, going to the playoffs. I wonder how that works with the playing game. So overall, I like it. However, I mean, we get into the nitty gritty of like 1 through 8. We all know what the 8 is, what's going to happen. They're going to get destroyed by number 1. So I think it'll be exciting. I think it'll be fun to watch, but as much as I was a fan of like Damian Lillard, like all that effort he did, I mean, what happened when they finally made the playoffs, right? Um, so I think it's good to see younger talent play intense games early in their career as opposed to like, under normal circumstances, a team that's terrible then being finished in the beginning of March, right? They can just take a break as opposed to now they're going to be playing the entire season full on as they're heading into the playoffs. I think that's a positive for sure. And I think it's worth keeping this format for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, there it's clearly not like a hard line, black or white kind of thing. I think there are pros and cons with it. Um, it may be you're kind of talking me more into the pro side of it, getting just kind of more significant games for some of the younger teams. At least historically speaking, I would agree with you that like 9 and 10 seeds are typically younger rosters. Um, so yeah, it's just something that I feel like I want a little more time to watch it play out. I'm such a basketball traditionalist. Like for example, when there's been talk, this is something that I don't think we've talked about on the podcast yet, but a lot of other podcasts have talked about like, hey, should it be just 1 through 16 seeds? Don't care about East and West. Especially when it was like these teams, 8 games under 500 making the playoffs in the East when the East was really, really weak. There's this conversation, and I'm so much like, oh gosh, I really want to keep my Western and Eastern Conference. I'm kind of, I guess, still old school, maybe a little thick-headed or stubborn in a way about that, but there's obviously good points on each side, and ultimately you'd have to imagine if it's bringing in more viewers, more significant games, then the NBA is going to stick with it.